There's no reason it can't be summer in my heart. Anywho, this is going to be a challenging couple of videos to make. I'm making 2 videos today, and this is going to be the introduction for both of them. A lot of you have noticed, many of you have noticed, and made comments over the years that I do have a lot of lovely lady friends. And I'm lucky to have a lot of lovely lady friends, among whom I'm not generally, romantically involved with or interested in necessarily. But that doesn't mean that I don't occasionally find a lady that I'm particularly interested in. Today's 2 videos are basically about why it's going to be kind of garage monologue-y. If you haven't picked up on it already and you've been around long enough, you probably know garage monologues are a thing that I do from time to time, and today is going to be 2 of them. One video dedicated to why I traditionally don't talk about my relationships, the women that I have seen or am seeing, and on and on about that. I thought we should address that and why I would like that to change, why I think it should change, and it's been an ongoing process. The other video is a video about a recent experience, a recent couple experiences, really, basically 2020. Believe it or not, I have had some romantic moments and what they taught me, and I feel like I've grown a lot this year. So that video will be about love that, for one reason or another, simply couldn't happen. And you're going to be surprised because I'm smiling a lot about this. It doesn't end the way maybe the smile makes you think it ended. But I think it's a very worthwhile story because I've grown so much. This video is about those ladies and how they got away. And more, it's less about romance and more about lessons learned. Of course, if you haven't watched the other one, you should go watch that now. The introductions are both the same, but that sameness ends right here. And this one I'm recording second because I figured I should get through the other one first and just see how it went, because it's kind of a terrifying, this is kind of a terrifying experience, but I feel really good. And actually after finishing that last one, I feel great. And you'll see why. If you watch all the way to the end, you'll see that it's like, oh, wow. Oh, you'll have a moment like that. Hopefully you have a moment like that. I can't guarantee these things, but I hope you have a moment like that. Anyways, if you think you know who I'm going to be talking about, lady-wise, you should probably watch the other one first. I mean, just see if you, just watch the other one first. You'll see if you know. Otherwise, I guess just wait till the end of this video and we'll see what happens. This video, though, just to preempt a little bit, I don't know, of the speculation that you might be churning in your brain, is mostly going to be focusing on lessons learned and not so much on romance. But I do want to talk about 3 women in particular, one of whom I dated briefly, 2 of whom I've had the misfortune of not being able to date, but who have taught me a lot and who are very, very valuable friends and who I'm supremely grateful to have in my life. And so with that, let's begin. Our story begins in the year 2020. We didn't know how bad it was going to get, and boy, did it go straight to hell. But before I went straight to hell, I did actually briefly date a woman from Corsica who was lovely, very lovely. This is after my breakup with the woman that I refer to as my French ex. We dated for probably like a month, and it was really fun. She was great. If she ever sees this, she's lovely. But I start with her because she was at this crux where I was definitely in a bit of a crisis point, where I was in the process of working through a lot of what I'm talking about in these 2 videos, with the fear, the shame, the embarrassment, all kinds of things that I wasn't sure about, that I was getting way better with, that I'd really grown a lot in and improved in. But there's just that last crack of the whip, that last moment where you're just really, it's gonna be worse before it gets better. Yeah. That's where she landed. Sorry about that. We had a good time, but she really wanted to have kids, basically, is what it came down to, which is not something that I'm looking for at this point in my life at all. I'm just not interested. And if you're getting to a certain age, that as a woman, I know that can become very important. And I kind of used that as my out, which wasn't entirely fair to her, but I was just kind of like, you know what, I don't want to take up your time. And in reality, I was freaking out and I was scared, and I just kind of, fell apart and bumbled my way on out of that. I had my reasons, but I think that it was a marked moment of not really dishonesty, but it was dishonest. I wasn't fully honest with her about how I felt. I did tell her a lot about what I was going through and how I felt, but I wasn't fully honest to make that my own decision and to say, this is where I'm at, this is how I'm feeling, I don't want to continue this for these reasons, I'm sorry, is what I should have done. And instead, I did kind of say that, but I also kind of copped out, and it wasn't the best. Ironically, because I felt like the way that I had broken up with this is not supposed to turn into a story about how Jay breaks up with women, because that is definitely not where I'm. But before that, I was very good, very direct, very honest. And then this one, I just kind of like, chickened out and ran for the hills, I guess. I don't know. So this year then obviously went in the crapper. I've got a couple of stories that I've never told that I really need to put together into videos and tell, projects that I worked on during the first confinement, just kind of, but also was really focusing on myself. I was already going to therapy and continued doing that through confinement, continued to have conversations, continued to really think and reflect. One other woman who's a friend of mine who I've known for a long time now, she and I, there was some tension that was growing between us, and we hung out over the holidays briefly. Not a lot happened, but enough happened to indicate, something could happen. And then confinement happened, of all the things that could have happened, and nothing happened. And by the time we ended up out of confinement and hanging out again, spending some time together, it became clear, and she kind of took the other track. She also really wants kids, and she's in a place where she's like, no, that is like a real deal breaker for me. This or that, it's like, it's either it is or it isn't. And I respect her for that. That was great. And we kind of walked into this conversation where I was like, I just want to be honest with you. I want to tell you like how I feel, what's going on with me in this moment, and where I'm at, and just talk about it and get somewhere with that, I guess. And it was really good. And she's amazing. She's a great friend. And she's become an even better friend because of all this. But we were able to talk honestly about where we were at and why we were gonna need to like stop things, but that we still had, feelings for each other, or at least that we were attracted to each other, that there was an importance to the friendship, that there was real value there on its own, with or without romance. And so like kind of doubling down and saying like, we really want to make sure that this friendship lasts and works, but also like being honest and saying I didn't want to lie and say like, I'm not attracted to you. I am attracted to you. And that is something that's going to stay. That's not going to leave just because we've had this conversation. And that needs to be out in the open and on the table, because I don't want to lie to you. And I don't want to lie to myself. I don't want to suppress those feelings and pretend that I feel differently just because it's uncomfortable or a little bit weird. I'd rather be honest about that and deal with that directly. And thankfully, she's fantastic and mature and just a lovely human being. And we were able to maintain that conversation and be honest about it. And we've had some tension. We joke about it being like we're in a sitcom where the will they or won't they is going to drag on for 8 seasons. And that's totally fine. It's obviously mildly frustrating in the midst of a pandemic when we're already starved for affection and human touch and just time with other people. But it's also like, it's just really, really good. And it's nice to have someone that I can, just rely on to be a really good friend and get some affection from, but also have some pretty firm boundaries as to where we are and where our relationship is. And then just let it grow into a really good friendship that I can appreciate and enjoy. One of the ways that I put it to her, and that I've actually said to some friends as well, is that I'm really grateful because it also gives you this secure place where you can feel a little bit more secure. I feel like one of the things that kills your chances of meeting anybody anyways is if you're like, if you're needy, if you're, clingy and looking. And the nice thing about having a secure like non-relationship like this, with my non-girlfriend, is that as I'm looking for someone that I would love to fall in love with, I don't know, it cuts that whatever desperation could be there right off at the knees, because I know I've got somebody that I can, cook a meal for, hang out with, talk, and share all of these struggles with, because we're both looking and we're both having a hard time finding, and I think we both understand each other very well in the midst of that. And that kind of support is invaluable. Also have to shout out, I have other friends, like Jenica's watching this right now, who's had long talks with me late at night over the phone. She's in Oregon, and a trained therapist, which is helpful to have friends who are trained therapists, but who also just genuinely loves me and takes the time for me. And I've been really working hard. A really big focus for me has been crafting, building, and making sure that I have a real community around me, that I can't do this alone. I can't do life alone. And so I have a number of friends that are part of that. And thankfully, this woman who will remain nameless, who I'm in a non-relationship with, is a great part of that. And I'm really, really lucky to have her. But fast forward to this summer when I did meet somebody that I was like, super into. I will say that like our paths didn't really cross that much for a while. When we did talk, there was like kind of, you got that energy. At least I felt that way. I can't speak for her, but I felt like, wow, like there's something really cool here. But early on, I had this, I had it in my head. I was like, I feel like she can't be single, but so I kind of like put her out of my mind as an option, and then didn't see her for a while. And then went through this series of like moments before I had seen her again for a while, where like that woman who I'm in a non-relationship with, we finally kind of like, I had to get over kind of like my feelings of jealousy, which was ultimately just me feeling insecure, and some other like kind of rocky feelings. I was on vacation, which you may remember having happened. I finally took a vacation for the first time in forever, did nothing, and really sat with a lot of the struggles that, I've been working through in therapy. And it just was a good time to really let the subconscious work itself out. I went on a date with a woman that I met down in the south of France that was not great. Saw some red flags from previous relationships pop up with her, and was good and like had a nice time, but also just kind of like gently let that go. Handled it really well in a way that demonstrated to myself that I'd really grown. I feel like one or two other things happened, but that's not really the point. The point is I came back to Paris, ran into this person again, and just hit it off. She and I we talked forever, and it was great. It was really fun. I just had a great conversation and a great time. And for me, conversation, communication, just like that energy that it drives, I think it's probably the same for everybody, but it's just so important. And also feels pretty rare a lot of the time. So we made plans from there, and I was like, oh man, maybe she's not taken. Maybe I was wrong. Like, she hasn't mentioned a guy this whole time. Maybe things are possible. We go out the next night, have dinner, and about halfway through, she does mention she's got a boyfriend. Not here, somewhere else, but she's got a boyfriend. And I was like, ah! And so like one of the things, ah! I mean, initially especially old Jay, but traditionally, that would have set me into kind of a spiral, like of self-loathing and being like, A, universe, but also like B, like, why does this always happen? Why do I find myself in this position? Am I always like just the loser, the one on the outside, whatever? And I felt that like kind of spike up, and instead I just like, you know what? Like, hey, this is not a rejection. It's circumstances. It's timing. It's whatever it is. She's got someone else. That's nothing to do with you at all. Calm down, enjoy your meal, and just have a good time. And so I did. And we ended up staying out until late, just having a great time, talking, and just a wonderful time. And the reason I tell this story is because she gave me a gift in this. I think that I had to give myself to a degree too, because I had to quell that like self-loathing piece of garbage person that does live inside me. I've got an angel and demon on my shoulders, and neither of them are helpful. As we're sitting, like we were, having a couple of beers and just talking, and the gift that she gave me in the midst of that was with just her presence and her being engaged and interested in me as at least just a friend, but just her interest, her engagement, and the fact that I found her so attractive. I find her supremely attractive. That's not past tense, I do. There was a voice in my head that I don't think I've ever heard in my entire life, and a feeling that I had that I don't think I've ever had in my entire life. And it was, I deserve this. It wasn't like, I want this. It wasn't like, oh man, if only I could have this. It was, I deserve this. I deserve to be with somebody who makes me feel this way, who I feel this way about, that I'm this attracted to, that I think is so cool. She's so smart. Like she's driven. There's a lot of great things about her. And I can tell you things about her. She's got a little drop of ambition in her, but she is just really smart, fit, has an amazingly positive energy. Like the thing that I think I told her this, but the thing is that she's got a joie de vivre. She's just got a way of being that is, I don't know, just infectious in its own way. And the conversations are a part of it, and her outlook on life is different than mine, but in a way that I really appreciate. And there's just a lot of stuff. She's not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And it wasn't an infatuation, but I had a genuine admiration for her as a person that was driving my attraction. And of course, there's a significant roadblock to that along the way. But I then am stuck living with this feeling for somebody that I'm not really supposed to have feelings for, because she's not available. But of course that creates tension, because then we're developing this friendship and we're hanging out, we actually hung out a fair amount, and it was great. But I felt like I need to tell her this. Like I can't live it's not like living a lie, but you know, I've got all this turmoil going on inside of me. And if we're going to be friends, I really do believe friendship is best lived honestly. And I've had some experiences in the last couple of years where I did not live that way, or somebody else didn't live that way with me, and it led to bad things. Like if we're not honest and open with each other, and if we can't be vulnerable and we can't trust the other person, then that friendship is not going to go very far in the end. And I have some pretty unfortunate experiences with that in the last few years. One of which has been a terrible experience. So I was like, no, I need to tell her. Like, I need to be honest with her. But I don't want to make it like an ultimatum. I don't want to make it weird or awkward. I don't want to make her feel like she has to choose or that she can't be my friend or anything like that. But I also do want to be honest with her that I feel this way about her and that that's not going to change overnight. Like I can dampen that down. Going into a second lockdown obviously helps dampen stuff down. Dampens everything down. The world in lockdown is a terribly damp place. But at the same time, like the more I hang out with her, the more I like her. The more time I spend with her, talking to her, whatever, the more I'm like, wow. And so I that's terrifying. Like you're going to tell somebody that you like them when you're not allowed to like them and you know they can't like you back. Or what are we in middle school? No, but it is terrifying. It's just a thing. And it is freaky. And the easy road would have been to just not say anything and to just carry on and either pull back and just work on it silently by myself, or just let myself tumble down the rabbit hole of unrequited love, which I have, done before and I never want to do ever again. I still had to figure out how to talk to her about it. And of course, when I finally worked up the courage to do so, we just never managed to actually spend time together for a week or two. I don't know. And then lockdown happened again. And then I was like, well, crap. Thankfully, I was able to see her again recently and have a conversation, this is very fresh. But that's also why I feel like it's important to talk about, because we had a good time. We hung out again for just lost track of time and found ourselves just sitting in a park. And I didn't know exactly how I was gonna work my way into talking about it, but I had run it over, in my mind, obviously, before. And part of the reason that I knew that I felt confident in doing it, even if I was really scared to do it, was because every time I ran through it in my mind, as if I was telling her, it made me smile. It made me smile to be able to say, you've given me some real gifts in our friendship. You've really made me feel lovable. You've made me feel like I deserve something of this caliber. Just by being around me and being friends with me, you've made me a better man. You made me a better person. And that is in and of itself just a huge gift. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'd already told her some things about how I admired her and how I saw her, but I never told her obviously how I felt. And that was the great danger. And so I did. I kind of just tried to do it naturally. I didn't want her to feel pressured or I expected anything. I thought that anything would change between us. My great fear was that she would not want to be friends with me anymore, because I would understand that that can be risky to be hanging out with a guy who just thinks you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, because bread is amazing. And we live in probably the country that makes the best bread in the world. That's a side note. But we were able to talk about it, and it was a good conversation, and I was able to share that with her. And then we continued to hang out and talk about all kinds of other things. And honestly, I felt like it injected good energy in there. Obviously, there's needs for boundaries to happen after a conversation like that, just to be conscientious and respectful. And we'll figure that out. I don't know if she's going to see this. Maybe, hopefully it doesn't make her want more boundaries. But I think that just finding that room for respect and to share that with somebody, it goes both ways, where it is, I do think it's respectful to her to be honest and direct and share that, but it's also respectful to myself. And what I walked away from that with, even though, it's not like I have someone, I'm back to square one. I never left square one. I'm at square zero. I'm as single as I was 8 months ago, 9 months ago, whatever, and haven't gotten any closer to not being. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody on the horizon. It's not like I've figured this out. But these two relationships in particular with two women that I really do love and respect, one of whom I've known for a lot longer and who we have a much deeper friendship, and it's only gotten deeper through this honesty and through this ability to take some risks and be really scared to share, but to do it anyways. And that other friend, my non-girlfriend, I guess, just because I'm trying to differentiate these women while not giving their names away, has been also a very, very good friend to me in that, again, proven that I'm worthy of love because she's stuck with me and wanted to be my friend and been available to process this with me and allow me to kind of bumble through it and not do it very gracefully, so that I think I've learned and I've gained the vocabulary and the ability to really express myself so that I won't bumble as much in the future. And that's a huge gift too. And I'm so thankful for that. And I'm so lucky to have friends like this. So even if I'm not any closer to finding romantic love, which is something that I obviously want very much, I'm better equipped for it. And I think that that's really ultimately the goal of 2020. It was never to find somebody, because good luck finding anybody in this hot mess. It was much more about trying to become the best version of myself. And what a good time to sit and reflect on that, because got nothing else to do. And I'm so lucky that I haven't had to try and do that in a vacuum. And I'm so fortunate to be surrounded by just a bunch of really smart and caring people of all stripes, men and women. I know that this has been very women-centric, these two videos. I've got some great dudes in my life who I've been able to talk to. Prushan's one of them. We always keep each other up to date on what the heck is going on in our romantic lives. And I have others that I'm so thankful for. And I would encourage you, I think I forgot to start this video with the thankful thing. If you saw the other video, completely forgot to say it's Thanksgiving, and I'm so thankful for my friends and for their support and the ability to start experimenting and trying to be honest, trying to be vulnerable with them about the things that I'm embarrassed about or ashamed of or uncertain of, and get that out in the open and get the burden lifted and be a freer person. I feel so much freer because of these relationships that have happened this year, even if it doesn't seem like I'm closer to the goals that I have. Like, they've freed me in ways that do propel me farther forward faster. So I'm really, really thankful for them. And if you are watching this, thank you. I really do care about you, and I'm really grateful to have you in my life. And I'm so thankful for, just everybody that I have in my life that has been a support. And I'm learning a lot. And I'm going to try and continue to be honest and vulnerable and to build into my relationships with risk, like taking those kinds of good risks and receiving it and supporting my friends in return as well as I go. I hope those of you watching this at home who don't know me personally have somebody in your life that you can reach out to in the same way. And if you're struggling with being single in the midst of this pandemic, I get it. Boy, do I get it. But I hope that you can find a way to really dig deep, look inside and figure out, okay, well, I can't find anybody to date right now, but how do I love myself more? I won't go be so corny to say date yourself, because that's weird, but I would say, like, how do you love yourself better? How do you accept yourself better? Because if you can get for me at least, I feel like if I can get these burdens off of the shame and the embarrassment, the baggage, whatever, if I can really love and accept myself, I've done so much of the heavy lifting to have a healthy relationship on the other side that I think I'm setting myself up for success. I could be wrong, but I feel pretty good. And if nothing else, I feel freer and happier and healthier because of all this. As much as it was difficult and did lead to some sleepless nights and was definitely rough, hey, nobody ever said it'd be easy. And sometimes, the hard work leads to the best results. I got all kinds of cheesy one-liners that I could start laying on you, but instead of doing that, if you haven't watched the other video about why I don't talk about my relationships and how I'm hoping to change that, hop on over and do that. And obviously, I hope that you're having a wonderful day wherever it is you are. Whether or not it's Thanksgiving, whether or not you celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope that you can find some things that you're thankful for and reflect on those today. And I definitely have really enjoyed reflecting on what I'm thankful for this year in my relational struggles, internal growth, personal growth, whatever. We all deserve to be loved. It's just a matter of time before we believe that if we put the work in. And I'm getting closer to believing that myself. And that feels good. I'm just going to go ahead and just sit in that for the rest of the day. And I'll see you again bright and early sometime very soon. Thanks for watching.